market pretty much on fire right now, it seems like, and lots of great things happening. And I wanted to start the show today talking about a topic I preempted with last week's show. What is going to happen to the Tampa real estate market if the Tampa Bay Lightning continue winning? And I don't just mean this year, but I mean if they turn into a perennial, winning team, a la the Blackhawks, right? I mean, you have the Blackhawks that are a perennial winner. They've been to the finals multiple times. They are a powerhouse team. And if you look around the country, you've got great sports teams surrounded by thriving business around it. And we don't really have that yet in downtown Tampa. And I think obviously Jeff Vinik has a goal to make that happen. And there's a lot of things in the works to make that happen, and certainly them continuing to win. But I wanted to start off and talk about that from a standpoint of what it means to our local market. And I think the very first thing is you're going to see a lot of condo development. The density of downtown requires that, because it's not as if you're going to see hundreds of single family homes being built around Amalie Arena. It's got to be condos and townhomes, for the most part. And you're going to see a lot of business, and that's going to bring jobs. And I think, Arnie and David, you guys, can understand this. And Arnie, having gone through some economic cycles, if you're bringing jobs and employment, what does that do for the real estate market and the economy?
Well, if you're bringing people in general, everybody has to have a place to live.
Right.
I mean, so that's the one thing that is not going to change no matter what, is people need to have a place to live. So if that's bringing jobs here, if that's bringing, more people here, that's obviously going to help the economy, help real estate, and so forth and so on. The other thing that helps is to be watching it on TV and watching the sunset on the beach.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
no question about it. When they're watching the Lightning game and they see that sunset on the beach, it's like, you don't get that here.
What am I doing in this cold weather?
So I think the population growth, the job sector improvement, some of the target employers and large institutions that they're talking about coming downtown present a huge opportunity for Tampa to become, as Jeff Vinik has called it, a legendary city. And if they continue winning, and that's really the key to it, because a lot of that buzz downtown doesn't happen if the Lightning turn into a loser. And I don't think that's happening. We wouldn't have signed our contract and become their official real estate agents and partner with them if I ever had any thought that was going to happen down the line, because the people running that team aren't just smart at hockey, they're smart at business.
Yeah, definitely. And it's weird to talk about sports being such an influence on markets and stuff, but absolutely it becomes an attraction for people to want to. It becomes an attraction for people and businesses to want to.
Well, if you think about it, talk about the Yankees, you talk about powerhouse sports teams. You look at the real estate and the market around the stadium, right? And here, unfortunately, all three of our stadiums really don't have that same kind of feel. But in reality, they've never really turned into a perennial powerhouse winner. The Rays have won, and don't get me wrong, they've had a winning team, but their location kind of prevents a lot of the benefits that Amalie Arena doesn't have. Those detractions, it is close to a thriving, desirable area. It is close to all those things that you want it to have as a kind of a powerhouse center for a thriving economy.
Yeah, I mean, in other cities and places, you go to the sports, and they're right in downtown. I mean, it's walking distance between everything that you want to do, and it's a great time. And obviously, like you said, the Trop isn't exactly in the best location, even though that has produced some some real estate around that area. But Amalie Arena is definitely in the spot to be.
Well, and you look at you look at all different angles of the development, so that there's going to be an increase in housing, and that's a challenge we have right now. I think all of us would say there's a shortage of inventory for buyers want more choice. So providing that choice in downtown Tampa and Channelside and outside of Amalie Arena, and maybe even extending into Harbor Island, providing that choice for consumers is something that we're short on right now anyway. And certainly this is not something that's going to happen over a 1 year period. I mean, this is a several year, maybe even a decade plan. But in reality, the goal is to not just improve our local real estate market, which I think it will do in droves, but also to improve our local economy. And real estate is so local think that's something people forget a lot about. And Shawn, I wanted to ask you, being a practicing real estate attorney, I'm sure you develop relationships with people, attorneys in different parts of the country. And we run into this a lot where, what may be happening in Tampa may not be the same thing that's happening in West Palm Beach or Orlando or Georgia. Real estate's so local.
Yeah, and even further than that, what's happening in downtown Tampa, Channelside, may be different than what's happening in Palm Harbor, may be different than what's happening out on Clearwater Beach, may be different than what's happening out in Oldsmar and West Chase. And so the real estate market is very, very localized in terms of, even within Tampa Bay, some areas are appreciating, some areas are depreciating.
And I think every angle you look at what's happening downtown with the Lightning continuing to win, because let's face it, if the Lightning weren't winning, I don't know that a lot of this would have as much buzz. That's going to bring the people for the restaurants and the grocery stores and the people that want to live in those areas, even the people that visit from out of town. Let's say the Blackhawks fan that's traveled down that I want to strangle during the game that sits right next to me. But let's say that guy that travels down here and he sees all the stuff that's going on around Amalie in a couple of years and he says, man, this would be kind of a nice place to retire or for a second home. And that's what Tampa is. I mean, if you look around, we're a melting pot of people that, for the most part, came from somewhere else.
It's got something for everyone, and even, my friends and I were down, near the stadium the last few weeks, watching these games. We're like, if we were out of town, we would think this is the best place ever.
Right.
It's just a great atmosphere down there, great vibe. If you haven't gone down to Channelside around these games, even if you don't have a ticket, just enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy Tampa.
Yeah, and I think, looking at the development perspective, and kind of the vision for it, it's a job creator, it's a real estate, benefit to have obviously more inventory, but also more choice, because what it prompts people to do, and I think that the target for it isn't after any specific demographic. I think it's really, they know that they're going to have to attract a variety of demographics, just like the footprint for downtown St. Pete. I worked in downtown St. Pete 10 years ago, and I literally cannot believe the differences in downtown. I mean, I go to downtown St. Pete to go to a restaurant, and Arnie, you can probably say this too. I mean, how different is downtown St. Pete today compared to where it was 10 years ago?
Oh, night and day. I mean, people. I ran into somebody last night says, "I love St. Pete." And back in the day, it was like St. Pete. That's like boring.
Yeah, it was. It was very snoozy and
Yeah.
sleepy. And I think the footprint for downtown Tampa is probably the same thing right now.
Right.
If someone lives in downtown Tampa, I don't know if it might be exciting with the Lightning in the Stanley Cup final.
Right.
Is it exciting, a month from now? I don't know.
In fact, I got a mortgage story back in, I hate to say this, but back in the early 90s, late 80s, I was getting a lot of business out in Pinellas County, and I had an office on West Shore, the mortgage company I was with, and at that time, and my boss says, why don't we, I said, you ought to open up an office in Pinellas County. He goes, oh, no, that's just for old people over there.
But literally, that was the truth. And now if you look at downtown St. Pete, not even the case. I mean, it's a whole vibrancy, and that's I think the vision for it. And all of it, in my opinion, is relegated to the Lightning turning into a perennial winner. All of it improves.
Well, there was a story, the seventh game, I was down at Channelside watching the game over at, I hate to give them a plug, but over at Ferg's, and so ran into somebody, and they were visiting their friends who were living at the towers down in Channelside, and she was commenting how great it is to live downtown because she can just walk to Amalie Arena and buy tickets for people outside. Like, she can get into a Lightning game, not during the playoffs, but she can get into a Lightning game for $20 or something like that. And it's like, she was like, everybody's like, wow, maybe I should live down here too, so. No,
it's true, and I'll tell you, I think there are a lot of people the continual winning of that organization, and it doesn't just, like Shawn said, it is local in the sense that Channelside and downtown Tampa may get this vibrancy from the winning, and it may have the most benefit, but it's going to improve the real estate market overall because it's going to bring jobs. It's going to bring construction jobs. It's going to bring hospitals, law schools, all the different large employers. And when you bring jobs, guess what? Those people need to buy a home and sometimes need to sell a home. And I think you'll also see a movement of people that live locally that want to sell their home in Lutz or Odessa or South Tampa or Apollo Beach, wherever they live. There are going to be a certain segment of people that are going to say, man, I kind of want to move downtown. I want to live in Channelside, and so it's really going to be an overall positive impact.
Look, I think the reason the market's where it's at today is because a couple of things. I mean, we you know, why is the market hot? I mean, rates are going up, prices are going up. Why would the market be hot? Well, it's because jobs are improving, and it's because there's more people moving in here, and everybody needs a home, and there's not enough homes to go around. So that's why you're seeing what you're seeing.
And I think this new development solves two problems with that. Number one is it brings more inventory,
Right.
and which spreads out the demand and maybe helps that a little bit. But it also, I think, creates provides an option and brings even more people to the area. So guess what happens then? You got even more demand. You got prices rise even more. All these local things that are happening. So when you look at the economic impact, it's funny. I was reading an article about the economic impact of LeBron James on Cleveland and how millions upon billions of dollars were impacted from him going back there. And I think that a lot can be said in the same, kind of analogy to the Lightning continuing to win. It will have billions of dollars of impact on a local economy because of all this development. Because that development doesn't stick. And it's not as if they can't have a bad season, but they continue to win, and it's just going to continue to drive that economy.
We're not going to live and die on the Lightning. I mean, look at all the water around us. I mean,
Sure.
we got beautiful spots,
Yeah.
but it helps.
It helps big time, yeah.
And the Lightning being so young.
And it brings
they're
people,
gonna
it
be good for a
keeps
while.
bringing people here.
And we haven't even touched on the investor market, the people that are the snowbirds that are
They're
going to
gonna
come
buy
down
and rent.
buy and then
Yeah.
rent out when
That's
in
that's a
off-season.
good point, and I think we're up against a break, but we're gonna continue that because I think the investment piece is an important side of understanding the importance of a successful real estate market. So we're gonna continue that conversation after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show.